Yo, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Jack Oates. To go, you either know or you don't. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. I appreciate the support as always. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I'm gonna say this now, and before you even watch this video, for anyone, make sure you go watch Wizard King Minato's video about Thelema. Okay, so we were gonna do that video together. But some developments arose, and it was really hard to just match up our schedules. It was mostly on my end because I work like 16 to 18 hour days, and I have one day where I'll be working for 20 hours. 4 hours of sleep is going to be amazing, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. Hopefully you guys sense the sarcasm in that. So, as you know, it's just hard to work with me as far as like my schedule goes, because I was supposed to do something with Roku, and I'm also trying to set up, a time to stream with RTL on his channel. It's all over the place right now. So, it is not easy having all these jobs, but you got to do what you got to do. But anyway, watch that video before you watch this, and then come back. Okay. All right. Now that you're back. Now that you know what Thelema is all about, the thing about Thelema is that this broadens so many things as far as theorizing what Asta is all about, and not even just Asta. This comes down to Asta, and Noel. Now we're going to talk about Asta in this because he is our MC and he will be the most important one, regardless of what anyone thinks. But I will put out other videos talking about the other two. But anyway. Aleister Crowley, he was able to come up with this system, right? And they're called Aeons. And in the religion of Thelema, it's believed that the history of humanity can be divided into series of Aeons. So, and each of them have their own magical and religious expression. So the first Aeon was of Isis, which Thelemites believed occurred during prehistory and which saw mankind worshipping a great goddess, symbolized by the ancient Egyptian deity Isis. And after that Aeon, it was followed by the Aeon of Osiris, which was a period that took place in classical and medieval centuries when humanity worshipped a singular male god, symbolized by the Egyptian god Osiris, and was therefore dominated by patriarchal values. And the third, and definitely not last or least Aeon, is the Aeon of Horus, who is controlled by the child god, symbolized by Horus in it. Thelemites believed humanity should enter a time of self-realization and self-actualization. So again, all of these are characterized by their own specific magical formula. And what sticks out is the Aeon of Horus, where humanity is going to enter a time of self-realization and self-actualization. Now, fun fact, if you guys did not know, we are currently in the Aeon of Horus. We have actually just entered, it's the Age of Aquarius is what it's now called. Or it's not, that's what we're calling it today. But in a further dive into this, I found out that the Aeon of Horus was essentially birthed from the Age of Aquarius. Now, what's interesting is that Asta is an Aquarius. And like I've said in other videos, and as you guys have probably noticed throughout the series, Tabata is very intentional about saying, like, okay, Asta and are both Libras. There's actually a lot of Libras in this series. Like, Mars is a Libra, I believe, as well. But Asta, I believe, is the only Aquarius so far. I could definitely be wrong on that, but she's the only one I've seen. And I pay attention to that because I'm an Aquarius, so I'm pretty sure she might be the only one, or I'm missing someone. So that's interesting in and of itself, okay? So I'm going to read to you guys the what the Aeon of Horus is kind of all about. I'm going to try and shorten it as much as possible, because then we're going to get into some other things that's going to be super, super interesting, okay? So the modern Aeon of Horus is portrayed as a time of self-realization as well as a growing interest in all things spiritual, and is considered to be dominated by the principle of the child. The word of its law is thelema, which is the will, which is complemented by agape, which is love. And its formula is abrahadabra. I know it sounds like abracadabra, and that Could probably read a video in and of itself. It's really interesting stuff. But of course, you see where magic is coming into this, right? So individuality and finding the individual's true will are the dominant aspects, and its formula is that of growth in consciousness and love towards self-realization. Concerning the Aeon of Horus, Crowley wrote, "The crowned and conquering child who dieth not, nor is reborn, but goeth radiant ever upon his way. Even so goeth the sun, for as it is now known that night is but the shadow of earth, so death is but the shadow of the body, that veileth his light from its bearer." And that's from the heart of the master. So he also goes on to say the Aeon of Horus is here, and its first flower may well be this, that freed of the obsession of the doom of ego in death, and of the limitation of the mind by reason, the best men again set out with eager eyes upon path of the wise, the mountain track of the goat, and then the untrodden ridge that leads to the ice-gleaming pinnacles of mastery. So this is really, it's just interesting, and to attribute it to Asta, he calls it the crowned and conquering child. Okay, we look at Asta's new Devil Union form. He's developing this crown where his headband would be, right? And he's also still a child. I mean, he's not like a child, he's a teen. But still, it's really interesting to look at that and then relate it to Asta. Now, to go even further into this, we know that Horus is an Egyptian god. Maybe not all of you do, but Horus is an Egyptian god. So what I'm going to do right now, because you guys are you're on this little research path with me currently, so you'll hear me typing. We are going to look at Horus and what Horus was all about. So we all already know that. Hold on, I want to make sure I open up the right one. There we go. We all know that Tabata uses all different types of lore in this series, and he's interweaving them so masterfully. One thing that I've been noticing is that even though a lot of things, as far as just anything goes about the history of humanity, it'll usually go back to civilizations like ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, and oh gosh, I'm missing the ancient Sumerians, right? You'll all get back to that one place, and this seems to be the cradle of civilization. So we have to respect that, that while Greek, Norse, and the Kabbalah, they're all great and it's all amazing, we have to realize that it does go back farther than that, right? So just a brief description of Horus. So in the ancient Egyptian religion, a god in the form of a falcon whose right eye was the sun or morning star was representing power in quintessence, and whose left eye was the moon or evening star representing healing. So those are very, very, very brief description of Horus, and I'll probably get into it more in other videos, but we did peep two very important words in this, is that he was the god in the form of a falcon whose right eye was the sun or the morning star. And we know currently Asta has the morning star symbol on his chest, which is looking like it's becoming a 5-leaf clover as he starts using the minutes that he's got in that form. So that's interesting already, that this is specifically attributed to the morning star, who is attributed to both Jesus and Lucifer. And as you've watched the Thelema video before you watch this, like you're supposed to, you know that this is extremely special, because Asta could be our very own resident Jesus of this series, while Liabe is the true Lucifer. And for those of you just hopping in on this channel, and I said that Liabe is the true Lucifer in this, don't jump on this without watching other videos that I talk about. Remember, I talk about these variants of Lucifer. Those names are rankings. That's their rank compared to Lucifer. who is the true king of hell in this case. So we have Lucifugis and we have Lucifero, right? These are just rankings. And that's what I believe for now until, again, Tabata says otherwise. But that is how it actually is in like the book of the Red Dragon, where we have all those demons and how to summon them and exercise, all that stuff. So that's how they describe it. So that's why I say that. So anyway, back to people who have been watching this channel and know what's going on so far. The second word I wanted to get into was quintessence, right? So quintessence is a term from physics, and it pops out because I was going to college for physics. I plan on going back to finish up a degree for it. It's all super interesting stuff. Especially the deeper you go into physics and you hit like this fringe sort of physics, becomes so astounding and mind-blowing. But anyway, let me read you quintessence, okay? So it says, in physics, quintessence is a hypothetical form of dark energy, more precisely scalar field, postulated as an explanation of the observation of an accelerating rate of expansion of the universe. So, already very interesting that it's noted as a form of dark energy. It has been proposed by some physicists to be a fifth fundamental force. Quintessence differs from the cosmological constant explanation of dark energy in that it is dynamic. That is, it changes over time, unlike the cosmological constant, which by definition does not change. Quintessence can be either attractive or repulsive depending on the ratio of its kinetic and potential energy. Okay, so especially this last sentence really kind of puts the dot on anti-magic in this series, because it says it can be either attractive or repulsive. We know that the very first thing that we saw with Asta was that it repels magic, right? He blasted Magna's fireball back at him using the broadside of his sword. We've seen Licht use the Demon Dweller sword in the same fashion, right? Using that repulsive force. Now, it also has an attractive attribute to it, right? When Asta is learning how to hone in his anti-magic, he develops, back of the volcano with Mario Leona. His sword starts tracking the highest mana in its vicinity, and that was going straight to Mario Leona. We also see it in the fight with Ladros. It tracks that high condensed mana source or whatever, right? So this is already describing what we have come to know as anti-magic, right? So let's see. We have what is called a quintom scenario. So this is, I'll just read it to you. In 2004, when scientists fitted the evolution of dark energy with the cosmological data, they found that the equation of state had possibly crossed the cosmological constant boundary from above to below. A proven no-go theorem indicates this situation, called the quintom scenario, requires at least 2 degrees of freedom of dark energy models. So this is a proven no-go theorem. Like, this is something that is, it's as unnatural as it is natural, right? And this is kind of what we see with anti-magic. It is very unnatural, but for them to regard this as it was a fifth element, right? Am I tripping? Hold on. Is the fifth fundamental force, not element, excuse me. This kind of puts Asta in this really cool position, right? And it kind of begs the question, could it be a tease to a possible true anti-magic? Because again, it's not an element, it's a force, but really interesting. But yeah, I'm reading some of this right now as I'm talking. Sorry, it's not as well put together as I can make it, but I kind of wanted to make it natural so you guys see how I come up with this stuff, firsthand. So this is the first time I'm really going through, this right here. So I'm looking at terminology and I'm finding some really cool stuff, guys. So I'm going to read it. The name comes from quinta essentia, the fifth element, so called in Latin starting from the Middle Ages. This was the element added by Aristotle to the other four ancient classical elements. So Aristotle labels this as an element because he thought it was the essence of the celestial world. Aristotle called this element, you guys aren't going to believe this shit, Aristotle called this element aether, which he posited to be a pure, fine, primogenial element. Similarly, modern quintessence would be the fifth known dynamical, time-dependent, and spatially inhomogeneous contribution to the overall mass energy content of the universe. Of course, the other four components are not the ancient Greek classical elements, but rather baryons, neutrinos, dark matter, and radiation. Although neutrinos are sometimes considered radiation, the term radiation in this context is only used to refer to massless photons. Spatial curvature of the cosmos, which has not been detected, is excluded because it is non-dynamical and homogeneous. The cosmological constant would not be considered a fifth component in this sense because it is non-dynamical, homogeneous, and time-independent. Very, very interesting stuff. So now what I want to click on are like, okay, we have baryons, right? I just want to look at what baryons are. So I only know of baryons because of Naruto now. So now we're going to get an in-depth look, or Boruto, excuse me. In particle physics, a baryon is a type of composite subatomic particle which contains an odd number of valence quarks, at least 3. Baryons belong to the hadron family of particles. Hadrons are composed of quarks. Baryons are also classified as fermions because they have half-integer spin. Okay, that's interesting, but what I want to know is where do we find these things, right? So, because they are composed of quarks, baryons participate in the strong interaction, which is mediated by particles known as gluons. The most familiar baryons are protons and neutrons, both of which contain 3 quarks, and for this reason they are sometimes called triquarks. These particles make up most of the mass of the visible matter in the universe and compose the nucleus of every atom. Okay. That's super interesting. That's going to take a longer read, actually. I'm going to want to look at that. But, again, quintessence kind of really does describe anti-magic right down to the T. And then we have the other 4 Greek classical elements, which are baryons, neutrinos, dark matter, and radiation. Now, if you've been interacting with me for a while, I've already put out that Yami might have dark matter magic as opposed to just dark magic, and just the way that it functions, because why would dark like draw in things, right? It doesn't really matter, but if you put it as dark matter, then his spells make more sense. And I think it's also really cool that we see these high-ranking devils starting to use very scientifically based magic like gravity, time, space, and then if we give Yami dark matter, and then we would give Asta quintessence, which would really kind of tie things together pretty nicely as to Yami's connection to the underworld as far as his magic being used with William's magic. But before this gets any longer and any more complicated, I do want to end it here. Like I said, I'll be making videos. I wanted to keep this short as possible, but again, it's so hard because there's a lot of information and you have to know things prior to some of these ideas to just get the idea. So I'm never going to get down to like 5 minutes. So I hope that you guys stuck around to the very end of this video. If you did stick around, I would like you to put in the comments what you ate for dinner tonight. So I know who is actually watching to the end and hearing what I'm saying all the way through. And of course, like, put it with your thought on all of this. Just at the end, just like put what you had for dinner. So I know, and then so that you guys can also see, like, if someone is like not even paying attention to the video. But anyway, do that for me. It'd be an amazing just like experiment just to see. But again, go subscribe to Wizard King Minato. We've been talking a lot, and we bounce ideas off of each other all the time. So give his channel some love too. You guys have been great. But yeah, that's where I'll end it. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Don't forget to let me know what you had for dinner. And you can also reach out to me on Twitter. And make sure you do that too. Let me know what you had for dinner on Twitter too, so I know if I'm gonna respond to you or not. Because if you don't have it, I'm not gonna engage at all. Anyway, this has been Jackos the Goat. You either know or you don't.